Good morning, everyone. It is like a nice, chill, rainy morning here in Chicago, which is amazing. I love cozy days like this, and because of that, I wanted to kind of make a chill video and just talk about some books, talk about what I want to read this November. I'm really excited about my list that I kind of procured of books this month, so let's just chat. Yeah. Alright, so I have 12 books that I'm going to be trying to read this November, which is a lot. The main reason that is because I'm trying to catch up on my reading goal this year. I'm like 15 books behind, which is so sad. I was trying to read like a book a month or a book a week, and unfortunately school just kind of got in the way of that. I was technically reading a lot, but they weren't books, so I can't count them. Also, if you hear my upstairs neighbors, I apologize. They have been stomping around all morning and it's been sad. It kind of ruins my peaceful vibes. So I'm very sorry if you're like stomping around. But anyways, the first book I wanted to read this month is Braiding Sweetgrass, and I'm actually not physically reading this. I'm going to attempt to try audiobooks again. I have like a mixed relationship with audiobooks. When I first started using audiobooks, I read the Pierce Brown series, Red Rising, which was absolutely phenomenal. I loved those audiobooks. They were amazing. I highly recommend reading that series through the audiobooks because it just feels like you're watching a movie. It's absolutely incredible. But then I started to use other audiobooks and they just didn't work for me. I don't know, I couldn't focus. It was hard for me to do other things while listening. I either had to like sit down and just like pay attention to the book, or I'd have to like rewind a bunch of times. So I'm attempting to try them again. The main reason being is that I want to be able to listen to books in the car. I can't read books in the car because I get car sick, which is so sad. I get so motion sick and it's like the worst thing ever because the amount of books I could read, I just can't because I get so sick. And so I want to try audiobooks again so I can read in the car if I'm like officially, but we'll see. I don't know. I'll let you know. If you have any tips with audiobooks, please let me know. If you have like favorite audiobooks, favorite narrators, please let me know because I'd love to get back into them, but I just have had like the hardest time. Either way, I'm excited for Braiding Sweetgrass. It is a nonfiction book talking about, I believe, the differences between indigenous practices and scientific practices in nature and how they differ and how one might be better than the other and vice versa. So I'm interested in it. It seems like a super fascinating read and I've heard phenomenal things about it. So hopefully the audiobook works for me. If not, I might just get this book from the library and read it. So yeah. The next book is The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. This has been on my physical TBR for the longest time. It is about two demons writing letters back and forth to try and, I guess, bring a boy to the dark side. It's supposed to be like a satire, kind of funny novel. I mainly wanted to read it because I've just, like, I feel like The Screwtape Letters is almost a household name. Like, it's not completely, like, it's not entirely a part of like the English canon of books, but I feel like it's close. So I want to read it and see kind of why it became a classic, why that is. And yeah, we'll find out together, I guess. The next book I want to read is I Fell in Love with Hope. I've heard this book is going to make me cry, which I honestly love. Like, this is maybe a little masochist of me, but when a book makes me cry, I know it's a good book, right? Because it pulled my emotions in the right way, it made me feel things. So I'm actually really hoping this makes me cry. Again, I feel like that sounds so bad. But I've heard it's amazing. It was written by a TikTok author. She kind of promoted the book and self-published, and she's done like a phenomenal job with like her marketing and everything. She even, I think, recently went to give a TED Talk, which is like fantastic. So amazing job, good for her. I'm proud of her even before reading this book. I think she's just done such a good job for herself. But I'm excited to finally read this, see what the hype's about, and hopefully get, you know, a little sad while reading it. The next two books I want to read, I'm still waiting on my library to have them. They're being transported to my library, so I have them, they're just not here yet. But the first one is Theyre, which is a collection of essays written about the Indigenous people who live in Oakland, California. It's supposed to be really, really good. I haven't read a lot of essay compilations or what are they called? Compilations, anthologies, collections. That is the word I'm looking for. I haven't read a lot of essay collections. The only one I've read is the Anthropocene Reviewed, which I absolutely adored. I thought that was so fun. So I'm excited to read this one because it just sounds super, super interesting. So yeah, hopefully it lives up to the hype that I have in my brain for it. But the next book is The Firekeeper's Daughter. It is a YA novel about a girl solving a mystery. I haven't read. I haven't read. Goodness, this morning I'm just struggling. I haven't read YA in a really, really long time, and I want to kind of jump back into it, see if I'm missing anything there. I took a break from it again because I was a little bit tired of reading about 16-year-olds like solving everything, because it made me feel like I was past my prime. Like, it made me very sad. Like, shoot, I'm like 22 and I am already failing at life. So I took a break from YA because of that reason. Now I'm ready to jump back in and start reading it again. So I'm doing that with The Firekeeper's Daughter. Again, I've heard phenomenal things about it. Great, I've heard that it's great writing and a really fun story. So I hope they will get here very, very soon. I know they're on their way. I just can't wait. All right, the next book is probably Ruby. This book is about a 30-year-old woman who was adopted by a white couple, but is kind of having a, I wouldn't say midlife crisis, you know, 30 is not midlife, but kind of like a life crisis, and is trying to rediscover her Indigenous culture that she never really learned about, and rediscover herself in that way, rediscover that part of herself. So I'm excited for it. The premise reminds me a lot of Crying in H Mart, which I absolutely loved. That wasn't so much as like reconnecting with her culture as just like remembering it, but still has like similar vibes. So I'm excited to read this. It sounds really, really interesting. So yeah. Tea break, tea break, tea break. All right, so the next book is A Mind Spread Out on the Ground, and it's about the author's, Alyssa Elliott's, experience kind of intermixing whiteness with her Indigenous background, Indigenous culture and heritage, and kind of how that affects her family, how that affects her community, how it affects her own perception of herself, all the issues kind of surrounding just how complicated it can be to be white passing and Indigenous. Yeah, I've just heard phenomenal things, and if you haven't been able to tell, I definitely have a theme for November. I'm trying to read a lot of Indigenous authors and stories this month, mainly because I have read a ton of Indigenous poetry, but I realized I hadn't read a lot of Indigenous fiction, nonfiction, just a lot of like Indigenous novels. For whatever reason, I'm not sure why, I kind of like only was reading poetry for a while. So I wanted to branch out and read a lot more. Just kind of read the whole spans. So if you guys have any recommendations of your favorite Indigenous author, I'd love to hear it. And I'd love to hear if you've read any of these books before and what you thought about them, because I'm very, very excited to kind of expand my realm in that sense. So yeah. All right, so the next book is This Is How You Lose the Time War, which I'm actually reading with my book club currently. And it's been fun. If you guys don't know, I do have a book club and it's free to join, so you guys can click down in my description if you'd like to be a part of our monthly and weekly conversations. It is completely virtual. We just chat in our little text thread about the book, and we also meet on Zoom at the end of every month to chat about it. It's really, really fun, so if you guys want to join, feel free. You guys also pick the books that we read, so that's super, super fun. It gets me to read other books I wouldn't have read by myself usually. So yeah, it's been a very, very interesting read so far. It's been very confusing. I was originally just reading a Kindle version on my phone, but I need to annotate this book just to understand what's going on. So I'm waiting for the book to arrive so I can write in it and destroy it so I can figure out what the heck is happening. But it's interesting so far, to say the least. All right, the next book is from an author I've actually already read from. I read Love Medicine by Louise Erdrich, and it was absolutely phenomenal. I loved it. Love Medicine was basically about it was very similar to The House on Mango Street, actually, where it's a bunch of short stories that are kind of interconnected in a way, and they tell the overarching story of two families on a reservation. It's amazing. I absolutely just adored it. But this is her newest book, A Sentence, and it is about a ghost haunting, which is great. I need more spooky in my life, so I'm excited to get it with this because October went by so fast. I don't know if it was just me, but I feel like I need just a little bit more spooky, so I'm excited to get it with this book. All right, the next book, I'm kind of ashamed that I haven't read this book yet. It's my mother-in-law's favorite book. I've heard so many amazing things about it. Tons of people have watched the movie about that's based on the book, and it's The Time Traveler's Wife. I can't believe I have not read this book yet. I don't know why. I love romance. I love unique romance, and I know that this is what that is. But for whatever reason, I just have not picked it up yet, so I'm excited to finally have it. My sister-in-law actually gave me this book, so I'm very excited to own it and read it now, and finally see what all the hype is about with it, because again, I've heard phenomenal things. It's been on the Today Club's book club read. It's obviously a motion picture, all the things, so I'm excited to read it, see the love story. I need a little romance back in my life, so yeah. The next book you guys might have seen before. I actually was reading this book way back in January when I was reading my 24-hour, my first 24-hour challenge that I've ever done. And I put it down from that challenge and never picked it back up. So I am trying again to read The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I have no idea why I put this book down and stopped reading it. I absolutely loved the first act. I loved the world building. I loved just the world and the unique fantasy that it was. I love fantasy books. That's my favorite genre of book. So I don't know what went wrong with this book, basically. I set it down and just never picked it back up. I think it was just the fear of how big this book is. It's huge, and the words are so tiny. There's barely any. I just think I got scared. I think I got a little freaked out, but I'm here to try it again and try my best to get through it. I still have my place saved, but I think I'm gonna just at least skim the first act to kind of remember what all was going on before I stopped. But I want to finish this. My husband has been begging me to finish this. He read the entire series and loved it. So here's me trying again. I also have the audiobook for this, so I might do like a mix of both with this book and kind of test out the audiobook for this. But again, I don't know why I stopped, so here I am trying again to get into Brandon Sanderson, because I've heard he's amazing. I follow him on TikTok and he's absolutely incredible. Like, if you don't follow him on TikTok, he's actually the cutest thing ever. I would definitely follow him. He's amazing. I love watching him. He's so fun. But yeah, I'm excited to read this again and get back into fantasy in general and just hopefully finish this behemoth. Alright, my last book that I want to read this month, I also am waiting on a library to get, but it's Becoming Abolitionist, and I've heard, again, phenomenal things about it. It's a nonfiction book about just, again, becoming an abolitionist in the modern day sense of the word. Obviously, it speaks a lot on the post-2020 world, especially after George Floyd and all the protests and everything that kind of occurred during that time, and what has changed and what hasn't. And it just sounds extremely interesting. I was actually recommended it by a friend in a class that I took a couple months ago that was all about Black American culture, and so I'm excited to finally give it a read and check it out. But yeah, so those are all the books that I'm excited to read this November. If you guys have read any of them and want to give me a little spoiler-free review of what you thought, please do so in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. But I'm super excited for November. Some big things are coming. I am finishing up my bachelor's degree this month. I'm prepping for some really exciting things in December. I have a lot of fun like holiday book reads planned and holiday events planned here in Chicago. So if you want to see more book stuff and also just like fun Chicago things, give me a little follow down below. I love following you guys on Goodreads. I've made some great friends there. So if you want to give me a follow on there, please do. But yeah, I hope you guys have an incredible month, an incredible week. I'm sorry this video got out a little later than usual. I just had so many camera issues, but I'm hoping to get that fixed soon. Either way, I'm very excited, and yeah, love you guys. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you later. Bye.